Hello again, and welcome into Roosters. It is a fun, casual joint. This is a fun, casual conversation on the podcast in the Horseshoe Lounge. That's Justin Zwick, Bobby Carpenter, Bill Landis. I'm Austin Ward. Bob, Jay-Z, well, both. You guys have been in these locker rooms, and they were about the most bare bones things I've ever seen. And now you can take a nap inside of these.
Must be nice.
Why is this necessary?
Coach, because you got to redo the locker room every 4 to 6 years.
4 to 6, A to B?
That's
Is that part of the 4 to 6, A to B?
It was 4 to 6, A to B. It's also 4 to 6 seconds as hard as you can go from one point to the other, but it's also 4 to 6 years to take the lockers from A to point B. You got to get them there. You got to make sure that you're going from, B to A, Birmingham to UAB to Alabama. I don't know.
Okay.
It's got to be elite.
Back before NIL and everything, I kind of understood it because that was a big selling point. Oh, everybody has cool locker rooms and all that other stuff. So when they did it the last time, when everyone got here, it made sense, I guess. But I didn't know they were doing it. And I see online, like, wow.
Yeah.
Those look really nice.
That tour.
And I wonder if the Beats come with the locker, the Beats headphones.
It seems like they get a new pair every couple of months.
Yeah, this guy's going to have like 50 pairs of headphones.
And we had to buy our own socks back in the day.
It's true.
I mean,
the socks they gave us were atrocious.
Oh, so they were the worst. Thick cotton socks that you could ever want.
If I was going to go like sled riding as an 8-year-old, I'd want
yeah, 100%.
I'd put them like underneath my Rocky boots and then go.
And they like get mad at us forever because Under Armour had just come out at that point, so we were like all buying Under Armour socks,
like the thin, dry wicking.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it was incredible. And
these won't give me blisters. So can I try these?
100%.
But now they've got this beautiful the gray leather in there, the black lockers.
Nice. Reclining.
It comes out.
With an ottoman
throw
underneath.
your feet up. I mean, goodness.
Why aren't they getting ready to knock that thing down? Why do they keep doing new stuff to it?
I don't think it's going to be a complete teardown. They're going to still repurpose those areas and then maybe do an addition or maybe a whole new building on Field 1. I mean, there's a lot of things that are swirling around.
Got it.
Yeah. I think
so it'll be a great place for, them to have a lounge for some random team. I don't know what you do with all that space.
There's a lot of lockers there.
There's no other sport you couldn't subdivide it because there's one locker room. So or one shower and bathroom.
Yeah, it feels like the bones and the core part of the Woody is going to remain the same. I don't think that they can bulldoze the whole building, nor do they need to. Now we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong, but there's supposed to be more details about that project before Gene Smith's final day.
Oh, really?
It was supposed to be. That hasn't quite happened the way that it was promised a month and a half ago. But
really, when was that?
So a month time, right? It's the end of this month, right?
Yeah,
June 28th.
I think he said late May there was going to be some sort of announcement about the project when we talked to him. I don't know, 5 or 6 weeks ago, and maybe there was, and I just missed it while I was in Texas.
You've been gone.
Week. I know, I have been gone. So, but you look at some of the tours and the stuff that's going on in the locker room, and they're still upgrading, and it just looks fantastic. And I was just wondering how someone 25 years removed from having their own lockers over there, compare and contrast the situation.
A little jealousy there, all the stuff they get.
I mean, I don't know if I'd want those lockers though. Like, there's good to them, but I didn't need to take a nap in my locker. Yeah. I really didn't want to be in there outside of when I was like, what are you going to do?
When we're allowed to leave, it's like, all right, we're out
sit there and watch dudes shower and walk back and forth. Like, what do you really need to sit in your locker for? Like, in the NFL, we didn't have a lounge. So, like, you would hang out there and you were there all day. But I don't ever remember, like.
Well, we didn't really have a lounge either. So, we definitely weren't sticking
around. They
around.
have all that space upstairs. You can go hang out now. Yeah. I mean, they have much better areas.
Get the whole cafeteria,
recliner row where you can go get the massage chairs and everything. They've got other opportunities. There's other great places. And it looks sweet. It's great for recruiting, and I'm sure some guys will use it. I don't know, like, of me as a player, how much I would actually be using it.
You weren't looking to take a nap in there?
No.
Okay.
I mean, during camp was maybe the only time where you would be like, all right, I don't want to go back to the hotel because we only have an hour and a half or whatever it would be.
You could turn on all the lights and sleep with a bunch of other dudes in like a barrack. I mean, they don't have two-a-days anymore, so that's not even really a thing.
Things just keep getting better for these kids.
So I'm not sure what
the old men now just yelling and mad about it.
I'm not mad about it. It's great. They can have. I tell them,
sure.
You know what? More upgrades. Do whatever
You're
you can.
welcome, is what I say.
Good for them. Exactly. Don't hate. Congratulate.
Yeah.
Bill, do you think that the facility's arms race will continue unabated in this new NIL revenue sharing arrangement?
No, that's how you hid the money before.
Yeah.
And now you need it to pay the players. So, no, I mean, yeah, you got to stay up with it and like keep it updated and make sure you're not falling behind. But it felt like, less so at Ohio State, but a lot of other places, they were kind of just like doing it just to do it.
Water wall.
Yeah. Well, the waterfall is probably
Putt at Clemson and the slide.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Like,
yeah.
It has to be fun. Like, recruits have to come and they have to like it. Like, I understand all of that. But now that tens of millions of dollars are going to start being allocated to the athletes, which I think is great, I don't think you'll see the arms race with the facilities persist
So
as much.
one of the things they redid the cold tub, hot tub situation. They made it bigger, more efficient. Like that's functional usage.
And that's
like,
good. I mean, the cold tubs, we had, two small cold tubs back
well,
in our
yeah,
day.
we used to stack 2 dudes
Yeah,
in a
it'd be
space
rough.
that was this big. That's not a joke.
So that kind of thing I can understand.
You
Hey,
could
we
go
need
front to
get this.
front,
Yeah.
back to back, side to front. I mean, there was a couple different ways you could
the only-
slide.
If you
it.
want to stay
The only
warm, you could cuddle
true
a little
limit
bit.
is your imagination.
That's right.
It is. That was the only.
There's a whole
constraint.
book of
That was the only. That was the only
Yeah.
constraint. I mean, who was it? Was it Thomas Tima that had that Kama Sutra book that we would see? That's a DVD, CD that came with it.
Yeah.
It was a
Book on
box
tape.
set. Yeah, it was a box
on
set.
tape.
Book set. It was pretty good. Well, it had the music to pair with it. That was the key, Bill. But yeah, like, as far as like the cold tub, these things are great now. You can fit a ton of guys in them. They hopefully will be done soon. Because I need to get in those. 'Cause I'm slow. I need to go back to vampire mode.
So nothing's
So they
changed.
were doing all that too? Because we were in there, we were doing the stuff with Cam Brown last year, and I thought that was already pretty nice, but they're doing it up.
Well, there was like some structural, I think, fun. Like they just need to make them better. They were older.
Okay.
They made them larger so you can fit more dudes in there. But
Nice.
yeah, the water room was already pretty nice. But it was like that part was like 10, 12 years old. And I don't know like what the life expectancy is on those tubs. And so I think they did have to kind of redo some of that. So the best part is they had to like cut out a hole in the wall to put a window in so they could get the tubs in.
Get it through.
Get the tubs in there.
Because they have a treadmill in the.
Oh yeah, that's still there. They still have the
okay,
treadmill to the
all right.
left, but they've got the tubs down the right,
Yeah.
and they're sweet. They're huge, long. It'll be great for everybody.
so they finished all that up right before official visit.
I don't think the tubs are quite finished
Well,
yet.
the fancy locker rooms.
Yes.
If you're going to pitch that,
They
on
promised.
official
They
visits,
promised Ryan June 1, and they somehow delivered.
They hit that mark, so the official visitors can now see that. Now, you two haven't been through that process in a long time. Both chose Ohio State. How much do you think these facilities actually are going to matter in winning a recruiting battle?
I think there is a certain threshold that you need to accomplish. Like you don't want to go work at a place that's terrible, but it's everything as long as it's within the scope and realm of like, hey, this is as nice as that. Could you pick? Is this better? Is that better? Is that bigger? One thing Ohio State has is their weight room is a football only weight room that not many places have, not to the size of that. There are other places that have bigger ones, but they're not exclusive just to football. So they have that. They've got a nice locker room. They've got good food. They have everything there. Sure, they could probably reconfigure things and do a little better, and they probably should have done that 20 years ago when they first did that renovation and make it to a level they could have expanded it in a more efficient way. But that's neither here nor there. They've got pretty much everything else they need. Sometimes, as Gene said, it's like putting lipstick on a pig.
Well,
That's some pig.
I don't know.
It's
It's a pretty attractive pig already.
Well, it is.
I'm not sure it needs a lot of makeup.
And that's
Well,
where I think
because
you just
you're a
gotta keep
Bacon
updating.
180 guy.
There have been a lot of questions for some reason. It is Awaken 180, by the way. There's so many comments, but
Not Bacon 180.
Googling Bacon 180.
yeah, I don't know.
That sounds great. I want to go on that one.
Anyway,
It was 50 pounds.
55.
Hey, let's go.
Just counting.
Jay-Z, how much do you think that matters?
I agree with that. I think you keep it up to date, but everybody's going to have your big cold tubs now. I mean, it's not like they're walking into what we had with small little rooms for the cold tubs or the hot tub or anything like that. I think as long as you're up to date with how most everybody has it and you have a big hole in the ground, if the tubs do need to be changed out every 10, 12 years, you're just going to put the same size in more than likely. I mean, maybe you upgrade a little
Well, there's
bit.
no
but-
more room to make them bigger
Well,
now.
fair.
So
I mean, yeah, at that
They
point,
maxed it out.
you max it out, but I mean, I think these kids, everybody anybody that we'd be going against for a recruiting battle, in my opinion, is going to have the same kind of stuff. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. And if you're getting paid, if you're paying players, that thing, it's nice, great. Let's talk money, or let's talk this. What's it going to look like?
It has felt like there's been a perception that Ohio State has fallen behind on the facilities for football.
Where is this perception coming from?
There's
Well, if they're redoing the locker rooms, maybe they feel it or they've heard it.
sometimes it's a conversation about. Sometimes it's questions we get from the fan base, like they hear about the stuff that goes on at Clemson, or they hear a recruit talking about comparing this to Oregon or that to Alabama. And I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to argue against a straw man or anybody else. Like I think that there's just this notion, and even when Gene Smith talks about the upcoming renovations and the things that they want to do, it lends to this notion of, well, did Ohio State fall behind on the Woody? And I don't think that really matches up reality. Tennessee had just completely redone theirs, and it was much nicer than the Woody when I came here 12 years ago. Mm-hmm. But is it still today? Is it as functional? Did they just put some money into things that didn't really matter, like waterfalls and slides? Like, probably.
Slides
I
are
feel
great.
like it's like the race to the moon, like in around 2010.
Yeah.
Just like, we got to have better facilities to try and get the recruits.
But they didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
They didn't know where to spend the money. Like, I don't think if you don't even want to take a nap in the locker room, you probably don't want to hang out there to play putt-putt.
Yeah, guys, they hang out upstairs. Like, there's other rooms, and you can hang out in the facility, and you want your guys to want to be there. I don't know how much, and maybe every locker room is designed differently, but I mean, I don't need to hang out in a room that's designated to be a shower and changing
It
area.
smells in there anyways.
Yeah,
all
it's
the pads and everything else.
Let me go up to like hang out upstairs where they've got that
golf simulator or
big-
something
yeah.
like that. Like, yeah, I just stuck around. And
They've got
played
some
golf
chairs you
and-
can sit in there. They do have TVs, and they've got like a little lounge area in the locker room, which is great. And some of the guys do sit down there and watch, but a lot of guys say
I
they
think
go
the
upstairs.
cafeteria is probably the biggest thing. 'Cause
Yeah.
I mean, we always had to leave and go get in the cars, go across the street to the Fawcett Center.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, that's where
Oh,
training
yeah.
table
I didn't
was.
know
So
that.
like it wasn't just like, oh, we're gonna go walk
Where'd you
down to
think we
dinner
ate, Bill?
and then do.
I
it.
actually wasn't sure. I know, like when I was at Penn State, it was that way too. Like they
Yeah.
had they just used like a regular student dining hall. They just had like their own wing of that dining hall was for the football players.
So we would go in the Fawcett. It was just for athletes, but it wasn't great. It's a much better.
It wasn't great, but then you're already in your car and you're already out. So it's just, all right, I'm going home after this. Instead of, all right, hey, who's hanging out or who's here? Let's go play some golf or let's go do something that we hang out here. You know, we were just always on our own. You get there, you get your food to go if they lit you, or you just give them your card so they can check you off that you were there, and then you go to Chipotle. That's what we did a lot back in the day.
Back
Yeah.
when Chipotle was good.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
back when it was good. You're right.
Doubling the expense there. I don't know. Bill, do you hear that much? That it feel like Ohio State needs to spend more on facilities? Like, I mean, football specific,
Yeah.
because they've already done that for everything else.
That's the crazy part about it is like you look at all the facilities for all the other sports, like they're beautiful, right? And it's not. I don't think the Woody has tremendous curb appeal, but once you're in there, like it's like I'd imagine it's as
What
nice
do you
as
want
any-
it to have on the outside? Like
some more
street
windows,
artists,
maybe
like-
a little more,
Yeah, more modern look to it.
Well,
with a bunch of big
it's-
windows. Would
It's
be cool,
recently
but-
become more apparent that it actually is the football building with the big Ohio State football block.
Well, I
out
like
there.
the anonymity of it.
Well, do you? Okay.
I didn't need random people like when we were there, there'd be like randos after practice cruising around the parking lot. I didn't need any more of that.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
We didn't have the fenced off locker room, or
Yeah,
parking lot.
Parking
then.
lot.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were out there in Gen Pop. Like there was no that fence didn't exist.
You're just waiting.
Well, how
do they-
waiting for
How
it.
do they determine who gets what? Because not everybody's inside the gate.
There was
That's
no
a
gate
good-
back then. That
Oh, we had
didn't
no
exist.
I know,
No.
but I mean, on the current roster, there's got to be a pecking order.
So they're out there
Yeah.
ticketing.
Freshmen out
We'd
there.
run out there. Everybody run to their cars. and
Everyone's
try-
got a car now.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone didn't used to have vehicle. I mean, there was a lot of differences then.
It
It's in the
does
Stone Age.
It was.
feel like they want more light in there with the.
I think it
They
needs
do.
more
They-
natural light. Yeah,
Well, they used to have those the like shades inside that they took down probably 7 or 8 years ago, and I guess you could retro cut some holes into it. The problem is the way it's built into the side of the like the rest of the facility, the main indoor area. You're not going to get like you want more windows in the meeting rooms and stuff. Like you're pulling blinds on them anyway to watch film.
Yeah, you want dark.
Like you're not in there hanging out. Like this isn't get a cup of coffee and go to them. Now it would be nice for coaches' offices to maybe be separate and have some areas like that. And they have a little bit of that, but not to the degree that they need. That's the biggest thing is they need more room for offices.
Yeah.
Like that's all the player stuff I think is fine. It's really just more offices and more meeting space. And maybe put more windows on the actual indoor. And they've made the garage doors, the windows, and they've tried to cut some more stuff in there, and maybe they can do more of that. I'm not a structural engineer. I'm sure they could figure it out, but I mean, it's all right.
They do have a golf simulator, Jay-Z. So
They do.
I mean,
it
yeah,
should be.
I thought they did.
They got
got
big
the-
buck-
they've
I
got
thought it
a
was
little-
really
big
big
buck hunter.
when we got to go back and play racquetball after my senior year. Like that was really nice.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't have that my senior year, but year or two after they
The
did.
racquetball was big.
Yeah,
Well, then they took the racquetball. That's where all the
that's where the basketball or
barbershop.
Oh,
They
is that
moved
where
the
that is now?
basketball down. That's they had to take the top of it off to put the rest of the dining area in because that wasn't all.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
It was a much
That's where
smaller
was, yeah.
area before.
Would you guys have messed with the sensory deprivation tanks back in the day if they had them?
Those are great. I've slept in them now, and I would 100%. I would sleep not at all at night and just go in there and sleep for 4 hours during the day.
Yeah.
I would be like,
Never done it.
I would be like special forces out at night on campus, but with a different mission entirely. And then I would go to those sensory deprivation tanks, and they say like 1 hour's worth, like 2 or 3.
Is that right?
Boom, let me get in that for 3 or 4 hours.
Speed up
That's
the process.
that's all I need.
Back in our
It'd be like Ra's al Ghul in there.
Jeez. We had Gonzo. Gonzo had a hyperbaric chamber
Yeah.
that they
The sensory
he kept at his
deprivation tank
but
is pretty elite. It's like sleeping in the middle of the ocean, except if it was calm in like the middle of the night and there's no sharks. You like
so
lay
you don't
on
have to worry about dying.
you float on top of the water and it's completely black, and they play a little bit of music, except the water's only like this deep. Not that music. It's like soft.
That's sensory overload, JT. That's not what you're looking for.
Well, that's why they have to go in there, because you have to come out of like when you're just bound around people ripping heaters and they've got strobe lights and all kinds of stuff going on.
Just calm yourself down a little bit.
Anybody that's been to a campus bar back in the late 90s, early 2000s would understand what that environment was like.
I don't know that I need to go back, to be honest.
Oh, those are the good old days.
I couldn't, I mean, I could handle that for like a night, for half of a night, but not what I could do then. But then also I would take a nap at 8:30 at night to get myself ready.
To get ready.
Set my alarm for 9:45 to wake up, get some food, and have a couple of
Slam a couple
cocktails.
Advils and go.
All right. So what's the one thing that you actually must have in a locker?
Sensory deprivation tanks.
Sensory deprivation.
Are you talking like in the locker room or in the building?
I don't
in
know.
the facility.
If you could change one thing about it, or something that you didn't have when you were a player that you've that maybe
Sensory
they have
deprivation tanks.
Okay. I think
The 5 trainers they have, Adam Stewart as PT, like with how good he is and what they do. Barney, like the way that they handled the medical element now, and that's not to besmirch like the people that were there before. They just didn't allocate the resources to it. Where they have like, do I need a bed in my locker? No, I'd rather have a massage therapist come in twice a week. Yeah. Like that's
going to help me more than being able to take a nap in my locker.
They have all those things now. Like those are all great.
That would be awesome. I think a nutritionalist, like if they're getting any kind of vitamins or anything,
they got the Buckeye pack.
We had a nutritionalist back there, but it wasn't
Ohio State 1, Ohio State 2. They've got all that.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have that kind of thing. So I think that just, because back then we were just kind of figuring it out on our own. Like whatever we wanted to eat is what we ate, and nobody was really telling us anything unless you had a weight problem. Then the nutritionist would work with you and try and calm you down a little bit. But
no ranch.
Yeah, I mean, but like for guys who didn't have that,
Plain
we
bagel.
just did what we did. So I think we may have been. I mean, like him and AJ. I mean, they grilled chicken, broccoli. All I'm not that. I can't do that. I have to have someone tell me to do that before I go to it. So that would have been nice. Just I think you take care of your body a little bit better. What you're putting in. Back then, I didn't really think about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'll eat whatever the heck I want because I'm just going to burn it off anyway.
These guys are ultra responsible.
Yeah.
Like you should see how clean they eat. So you can imagine they don't really put anything.
Yeah, any other toxins?
Yes, those things don't even exist. Yeah. Like, well, I'm trying to clean. I'm like, it's June.
We're like, spring ball's over. Let's
spring
go.
Ball's over. This would we'd be coming off the Memorial Tournament.
Oh golly, yeah.
It'd be like, oh gosh, 4 days of that. Needed sensory deprivation
I
tank.
remember Chris Carter came and did that camp the day after the Memorial that one
Oh
year.
yeah, it was so bad.
He yelled at all of us. It was a poor performance the next day.
I used to like that as a nice little icebreaker, just like some off the record conversation. Like, well, what's your go to drink? Where do you like to hang out? Now it's like nowhere. I go to the golf course and I play sober.
They give us these cherry juice packets that are really good. They're supposed to help our recovery.
It's like I sometimes have ice cream. Oh, okay, cool.
Jeez,
you guys are
living on the edge over there. Watch out for these guys.
They have the what are those called? The Uncrustables. And when I'm really crazy, I have an Uncrustable.
Maybe 2.
Yeah, maybe even 2.
Get a little extra sugar.
They did take the Uncrustables and turn those into French toast one day, where they battered them and cooked them.
That.
Oh, it was pretty good. I looked at him. I was like,
"It's a grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich."
100%. I go, and he was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "This is great." The fact that I'd never seen that before, and they've been around since we were in college. That's the stuff. But these guys, they're
Bill,
goody dudes.
You know what else they used to
We
have?
had dudes hotboxing their car on the way into practice.
With Raising Cane's in the passenger
Cane's,
seat.
yeah.
Just going in the locker room before practice, housing a whole box or
Let's
whatever
go.
it was.
Time to play.
Then just running as fast as humanly possible out there.
Get your mind right, however you got to do
That's
it.
what when guys would say get their mind right. That's everybody that I always knew.
Everybody was
That,
different.
that meant to go indulge in some cannabis when I was younger. Gonna go get my mind right. And like, all right, now guys, like I'm gonna get my mind right, and like it's like a process where you like meditate and then go into like to like go into a meeting. Like, geez, you guys are phenomenal. Just they're way better. I said they're much more mature.
Yeah, so much more mature.
Doesn't mean they're better humans.
They're much more mature, and by default, due to transitive property, then they are better humans. If A equals B and B equals C, they're better humans, man. I mean, I hate to tell you
It is
that.
what it called. Called is what it is.
I've matured. I feel like I'm there now, but it's like I was never would have been there at 20 or 21 years old.
Yeah. I'm glad I wasn't.
Maybe that was a function of the room, the leadership of the rooms when we got there.
Well,
And maybe that was a function of just where society was and what we had been doing for that long.
I think probably, yeah. Things have just changed a little bit.
It's like, this is what these were the expectations. The standard is the standard.
Standard is the standard, I told him.
The standard is the standard. When someone asks you to go out on Thursday night before, like, oh, you want me to come? Like, we're going to get to go hang out with the upperclassmen?
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
I'm all in.
It's team bonding.
Absolutely. Better make sure I
Bring your tip sheet.
I drink a lot of water so I don't look like a softie when I say I can't say no to any drinks. Let's do some shots. Okay. How many? Keep them coming.
Whatever
Let's
you
go.
want, man. Let's go. I'm hanging out with you guys tonight.
Bill, there did used to be a media center in the Woody Hayes
I
Athletic
know.
Center.
Tress put one in there, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is now. I know.
That's
no
where
longer
that's where the kitchen is now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
really?
all that stuff
Okay.
up top and in the back. Yeah, they cut
Yeah.
off the racquetball. Because what are you gonna do? Go in there and get on a desktop computer?
Yeah.
Hey, Kenny, hold on, I gotta go print some stuff out. Like those things are laughable. I try to explain that to guys, like of how important that stuff was. And they're like, yeah, gosh, I forgot. Let me get on my email and print this. I forgot to print it at home before I got here. Well, they go, what? What's that's a thing?
Don't need it now.
Do you think other programs still have that?
Yeah.
It used to be a thing, right?
Yeah, it was a big deal. And again, right before I left in Tennessee, completely redid their thing. It's like, well, you got to have a place for the media who are covering our team to work. And like now, that's a laughable notion. It seems like when they put
Just
it
lean
together.
against the wood, lean against the center block wall over there.
Well, we just walk right out on the practice field until they kick us out.
Well, and then they actually had a part in the Woody, like in the front part that you would have walked into, and I think they turned that they turned it into offices, but they built it was probably a room this size that they made to where the press conferences would
Yeah.
be, so you didn't have to go into them. Did you ever go in there?
Urban closed it.
Yeah.
like right when I got here.
I was going to say that's where
That's the
Tress
stuff
made
they
it.
do need that.
So you didn't have to go into the team meeting room, but that was part of the problem with the expansion of the staff. They needed to be able to have more space for offices.
Yeah.
And so that ultimately led to that.
That
They
would be
tried to do it.
the one thing I'd fight to get back for sure. But
You know what I'm trying to fight to get back is just put a tent outside.
I'll work in a tent as long as they put some mozzarella sticks out there on
These
Tuesdays.
delicious
And you know what?
fried
For
goodness.
$3, these can be yours for an appetizer Thursday at
$3.
Roosters. I mean, we talk about it all the time. The Mott Stick is really the 5-tool appetizer. It's a win. Everybody likes it. If you're sitting there and you're
Every
saying, hey,
time.
does anybody want some apps? Yeah, I'm going to get some Mott Sticks. No one's going to say, no, I don't like those.
Right.
So it's really the win. $3 appetizer. And by the way, where's that? We still got this too. This is the best. We've got all these delicious Parmesan garlic, mango habanero sauces, the Nashville chicken pizza, also the spicy Nashville chicken sandwich, also really good. Cauliflower crust, the
Test menu.
Big Bob American burger, barbecue chicken, bacon cheddar. I mean, all kinds of sandwiches. It's all
If
good,
you haven't got in
folks.
here to try any of this test menu, you should.
I've been
definitely
getting it.
do
I'm getting more of it
it's so
today.
good. Yes, sir.
Got to finish the world tour of it.
And Austin's going to get that Eli's strawberry
Chocolate
swirl
chip
cheesecake.
cheesecake. I don't know.
Wait, I don't remember the last cheesecake I had. It probably won't be today though. But we'll see. We're going to take a break, maybe order some food, reload on the mozzarella sticks, and we'll be right back in here at Roosters, which is a fun, casual joint.
Roosters has been so fortunate. We just want to be able to give some of that back to the community.
They donate to organizations that are near and dear to their heart, and we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long time.
They always go above and beyond to help support our foundation to further help veterans.
It's just a wonderful feeling to know that Roosters supports the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Welcome back into the Horseshoe Lounge, and Berm is here.
Negative Berm.
Berm.
This positive Berm. This is
Yes.
his month.
It is.
Official visits underway. Camp season on Wednesday.
Yeah.
We talked about it, getting ready for it on the podcast daily on Monday morning. But Berm, you get a different vibe when June calendar flips.
Yeah, it's like a whole different aura. You know, you just sit back and you go, "Oh, this is football in its purest form."
Oh yes, the OVs and camps.
OVs and camps.
So that's why
That's what it's all about.
Ryan. I'm surprised we didn't get into that with him more last week. Where, hey Ryan, what do you really do it for? The OVs and the camps? Is that why you're really
the
here?
month of June? Is that why you're here?
See, I think Berm meant that
No,
seriously.
I 100% mean it. But things change over time. Like look at mozzarella sticks, for example.
Exactly. You're the starting
years
quarterback
ago,
now, Mom.
Years ago.
Remember years ago when mozzarella sticks were like sticks and now they're like logs? You know, things change over time. You see the difference? You see what I'm talking about? They used to be like sticks.
Longer,
thin,
thinner,
skinny.
Now they're
Yeah,
girthier.
yeah, they
Now
got some girth to 'em.
mozzarella sticks have compacted. Everything is compacted in football, right? And everything's now jammed into one little spot. It's official visit season, which never used to happen in the
In
summer.
June, yeah.
This is great. I wish I was in high school now to be able to take
taking an official visit
visits
in this
in June.
summer.
So Vernell Brown, who's a wide receiver from Florida, whose Final Four is Ohio State, Florida, Miami.
I like our odds in June more than December.
So he
for
he visited this past weekend, right, for his official visit. He also visited Ohio State twice in April, once the 22nd, and then March, once like the 22nd, and then once 29th, and then came for his official. And then
back-to-back week just for
Yeah.
spring practice.
yeah, South Florida Express, baby, they find a way to get you there.
You thought Breeze Airlines? I mean,
So this week he's not taking any official visits this week because they have the 7-on-7 tournament in Tampa, which is right, down the street from here.
yeah.
Then he goes to I think Miami next weekend, and then the weekend after that he has to fly to LA for the Elite 11 and the opening, and then he goes to Florida State. Like this month, if you can only imagine how different your life would have been, and how much more screwed up you would have been heading into your freshman year at Ohio State if you had gone through this era of recruiting.
I'm trying to think. These guys are still trying to get ready to play a football season in high school.
And they're jet setters.
that is wild. I mean, I flew
Week
out
in,
to
week
Elite
out.
11, but it was like one camp, one time, and
Yeah.
1 year. Like
When I drove up to
didn't
go
start
to
in
Ohio
eighth
State's
grade.
camp, I drove myself here. My parents didn't come.
In a
I
stolen vehicle.
Drove it. It's actually my transmission went out on the truck on the way back. To tell you the truth, it took me about an hour and a half because I was driving 35 miles an hour. Wouldn't get into overdrive. That was brutal. And then I went to Northwestern for a camp.
Did you have to take the train?
I don't. You know what's amazing? I don't know how. I flew up there with one of my high school buddies, and I remember they made us take our helmets out because we were checking luggage, and he's like, "I'm not opening that. So you tell me what's in there." And so there's a helmet, and they're like, "Well, you can't take that on." He's like, "I'll just put it on my head then."
You just wore it onto the
I don't know, but I don't know how we got from Midway to Evanston. Like, there's no way that we would have.
Figured it out as
They were
kids in
the
high school
furthest
kids.
away that you possibly could have been.
But there's no way that I would have had the ability to navigate public transit in Chicago.
Especially at that time. You
Yeah.
didn't have a cell phone in your pocket
No.
or anything. Yeah. You're just jumping in a taxi
Here.
saying,
Take me to Evanston. How much? I don't know.
Yeah.
How much cash
hope
you got
this
on me?
credit card works.
All of it.
I do sincerely mean like I love camp season because we were just talking before
Yeah,
we
you
started.
see
but
'em all.
Jackson Reynolds, a 2027 from Lancaster.
The fact that you knew that
your
is
neck of the woods, like
It's his job. He's
because you
the
go
best
into
for a
camp.
reason.
Yeah, well, I'll be there Wednesday. There's
Now,
a kid from my high school there. Oh, Jackson Reynolds.
I met
Why wouldn't you know that?
I met his dad, Cliff, last month.
Yeah, it's also
Cliff, he's bringing out the parents' names.
mom,
He's like-
Jesse,
he's
yeah,
like
why
Tress
not?
back in the day. He's got a sister.
I met his dad at the coaching clinic, and he was I'd been talking to Jackson for a couple months ahead of that, and so great things to say about you and Schlags and AJ and how you guys basically are this kid's hero. So like those are cool moments, and I think that we can get like bogged down in how gross college sports has become in the last few years, but at the heart of it is still a kid in Lancaster, Ohio, who's wants to play football at Ohio State and is going to go out there and get a chance to run out on the field at Ohio State and work out for James Laurinaitis. Like that is cool. Like that's a cool thing. And I hate that sometimes because the sport is so gross in a lot of ways, and we've obviously shed the sham of amateurism, which is fine. I mean, I
believe they call it the tearing of the shroud.
Call it whatever you want. The Shroud of Turin or whatever. Doesn't matter. That's a different shroud. CJ Shroud.
Too many shrouds on this show.
It's cool. Like and I do get I still get romantic about this part of football and this part of athletics.
And that is true. And I try to remember that we talk about it like grossly for the elite, the top end guys. But when they were talking about like eliminating the walk-ons and going just to 85, I think about Xavier Johnson. I'm like, Xavier Johnson caught a touchdown pass that changed the trajectory of that Notre Dame game. Now, maybe you'll win it even if he doesn't catch it. But that was a guy who was a walk-on from Cincinnati, Ohio, who came here, who earned his way, who was able to have success. You talk about a guy who planted a flag in Ohio Stadium in Baker Mayfield, who was a walk-on. Right. And like that's how he was able to get it done. A guy that you end up graduating with, that we came in, Antonio Smith, oh gosh, he's from
not Brookhaven.
No, it starts with a B. It's going to kill me. But once my CT will wake up and get going, I played against him in high school too. It's going to drive me nuts. Over south of Westerville, whatever. It'll get to me. But he came in as a walk-on, ends up, he intercepts a touchdown, intercepts a pass against Penn State and runs it back in. Like in a game that ends up being 28-14, but was much closer than it felt as they were going through. So like there's all these examples of guys that be able to get these opportunities and go on to start. And some of them play in the NFL. They made a movie about Rudy, for heaven's sake. Rudy wasn't a 5-star from Ben Davis High School in Indiana that went up there that asked for $500,000 to go play defensive back. Like, that's not that they converted to a D lineman. Like, that isn't what it was.
It sure wasn't.
I mean,
very different story, in fact.
Yes. So, like,
imagine that story now. All the guys walking in, putting down their NIL checks. This is for Rudy, coach.
This is for Rudy. This 25 grand's going to Rudy.
This is for Rudy, coach. For Rudy.
Beechcroft.
Ohio State's high caliber guys might actually do that.
What's amazing is I was talking to Rick Neuheisel today on the show, on his RXM show that I was doing with him. Not ours. I was filling in for Chowders. And he said he talked to Mac Brown, who's been coaching in this forever. Like he's Jim Tressel's contemporary back in North Carolina. Yeah. And he laments a lot of the issues. But he did say this, the one positive is, this is the happiest locker room I've ever been a part of. And I think there's truth to that at Ohio State. These guys, they said it's connected as ever. I talk to these guys. They're mature. They love each other. Like, they care about each other a lot. They care about the program. And to Mac's point on this, he goes, because if they're not happy, they just leave.
Well, there's no more.
You don't have those guys moping around. It's like, all right, you're out here on the next portal, I guess, right?
There's significantly less stress about your college experience when you don't have to ask yourself how you're going to pay for a meal, or you don't have to send mom an email and say, "Mom, can you send $500?" That does change.
The weekend vanity. Right. I mean, like those are all things.
We actually owe Mac Brown an apology. A couple weeks ago, we did a show where we were talking about Ryan Day and like where his place is in college football, and we said that only Kirby Smart and Dabo Swinney were active and national championship winning coaches, and Mac Brown.
He is the Jeopardy question. He is like the little phone a friend that you wouldn't know. Because he didn't want it he wanted at Texas and not UNC.
But no, I love.
Sometimes I forget that he's still in North Carolina because he looks. I don't need to apologize to him again. He doesn't look as active on the sideline as he used to. Anyway,
they're a good program, fun little program, cool uniforms,
great uniforms,
great campus.
The campus is elite. I mean, that was the first.
I remember
visit.
You went down there for a visit. I remember
my first visit. I wanted to commit that day.
Yeah,
it looked amazing. Never had lobster before.
So, Bob, you talked about the way that Ryan Day was describing the month of June. I know Berm will have a lot of thoughts on this. What do you make of having such an emphasis on all the official visits in June as opposed to, I understand the logistics for the coaching staff, but like the Horseshoe is also a pretty prestigious draw, and moving that away from game day visits, how do you like that?
So we didn't do a game day visit. I mean, Ohio kids is a little different because you can just come in for a game.
Sure. Yeah, but you guys were also in an era where if you had an offer from Ohio State before your senior season or you just committed. There really wasn't.
Except for me.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I was maybe a forward thinker.
You waited how long?
I didn't commit till a week before signing day.
No.
Part of it, someone's like, oh, high, big time. I think Perry said that to me on my show. And I'm like, dude, I didn't want to make a bad decision. I'm like, this seemed like the right one.
They were giving you time to make a decision.
But you were worried about competition, weren't you? You knew DeAndrea was coming to Ohio State.
He wasn't committed either.
I know, but
no one cared about AJ. He was some scrub that was a throw-in at the end.
You were afraid of competition. Admit it.
It wasn't a fear of competition. It was there had been a number of guys from my high school that had gone over like a 30-year period who had come here. Rex Kern played, had a lot of success. There was a guy named Ben Gilbert who came here, had a lot of success. But there was intermittently guys who had come in between, and the guy who my dad coached from a smaller high school that came here and didn't have success for a multitude of reasons, whether like they got homesick, and that was back when the world felt huge because you didn't have cell phones and stuff.
Homesick 30 miles away.
It was just like maybe you got hurt and like things. It just
didn't go.
But all you knew was that he went to Ohio State and it didn't work out.
And I was worried. I'm like, my dad goes, he goes, I went to Miami, Ohio because I knew I would always get a shot. I think that's what you want. And now that's much more transparent and it's easy. But guys used to come to Ohio State and it's like, what's going on? They didn't have, you three slaps beating down their door trying to figure out what's going on. I mean, you have to get the BSB once a month, and that was like your access into what was going on.
Happening, who they were looking at, or what was going to happen. You
didn't know anything. I mean, so that was the worry. And I would have loved to have said my senior year, boom, you get to do official visits here. Because then you could actually, you probably still would have committed to Ohio State, but you could see places earlier and then still get it over with. And you're seeing places when it's nice outside. And if you want to go to games, like you can still go to games. But I think this is better for Ohio State. Guys come in here, they can get committed. They feel good about it. They get to see it when it's nice. The campus is beautiful. They want to come back for a game, great. Yeah. But the problem,
most of them have already been to Ohio State for if you get to this point in the process with Ohio State and they're actually inviting you for an official visit, generally speaking, you have already been to a game at Ohio State. There are very few instances of guys who have committed that haven't been to campus. I mean, J.K. Dobbins was one. He committed in February of 2016 and didn't visit for the first time until like November of 2016, which is a very rare thing. But to your point, like this, Ohio Stadium is awesome, and especially a big-time game in November, awesome. But if you lose that game, if you lose that game, like that weekend gets real weird real quick. But if you, instead of focusing on having Ohio Stadium be the backdrop of your visit, you have the entire city of Columbus as the backdrop of your visit. And talking even to Justin Hill, who is a high 4-star, very big priority defensive end linebacker type from down in Cincinnati.
He won't say Jack? You won't say Jack?
That's what they're recruiting him as, the Jack, but he's a hybrid player.
Give him all the tape of that.
He's from Cincinnati.
It's gone really well.
He's from Cincinnati, but he said, he learned this past weekend that he would love to live in Columbus. I don't think he knew really how cool Columbus is. And then for players like DeCorian Moore, 5-star wide receiver in Texas.
And I had a Mandrake all night,
or Riley Pettijohn, linebacker from Texas, who was in town. Like, these kids are comparing Ohio State to Texas. And I'm going to say it.
Well, it feels pretty close to it today.
Ohio State and in Texas and Columbus and Austin are very similar. Like, there's way more similarities than there are differences.
I would say Austin is the most similar city to Columbus in the entire world.
Yeah, so I mean, it's actually
there's a lot of weirdos there, though.
There's a lot of weirdos here, Bob.
But you don't get to notice that. I mean, you live here. You don't get to notice how similar Austin is to Columbus unless you're here in the summer.
So 100% because Columbus has something that Austin doesn't have called winter. Yeah. And then that's not as good. And so
the best thing Ohio has is that it has Ohioans.
Yeah.
So you get to
and the best thing about being in Columbus right now, as somebody who was just in Austin yesterday, is that it was 100 degrees there and quite humid.
feels like this is what you get to train in. It's great.
Came home
about the weather.
and it was 31 degrees cooler.
Yeah.
So
everyone always tries to use the weather against Ohio State, but in a lot of cases, it's actually
because back in the day, you'd get these guys from Florida come. I think like Santonio, didn't even have a winter coat when he came up for his official visit, and he's like. Gets off the plane, like, what? Like, I haven't seen snow.
But that's when you were doing official visits in November.
100%.
And so your options were, we would do them. I didn't want to do it during the season because you can't really talk to the coaches.
Right,
like
which
they're
is
trying
their
to
whole point now.
win a football game, and the players are trying to win a football game. And even if it's a red shirt or whatever, like they've got stuff going on. And so you don't really get to see, like, you can't go to downtown and experience Columbus and all those great things. And then the other option is like, well, you do them in January when it's freezing cold.
Even worse.
go to a basketball game.
It's like the worst time to be in Ohio.
That was up until 10 years, up until probably 10 years ago. Like the majority of visits took place in December and January.
Our two big weekends
were the Hall of Fame Cafe.
Yeah, the first
buffet.
Because you got to remember, we didn't have the Big Ten championship game, so we would play
first weekend of December.
Yeah, so it'd be the first 2 weekends of December were the big visits. So I went to Carolina the first, and then I think ours was like 7th, 8th, 9th, whatever,
something like that.
Right here after that. So it's great. But these guys to come and see it, and for a guy like Cincinnati, I don't know how we would ever. Sorry, Bill, we would ever lose a guy to Penn State from the East Coast. If you're from the Baltimore, D.C. area or New York, New Jersey, and I told Curtis Samuel this from Erasmus High School, it's like, dude, do you want to go to Penn State and live where? Like, dude, Lancaster is better than Happy Valley.
It's not so happy over there.
I'm like, I'm seriously.
Terrell Pryor took a lot of heat for saying that Penn State was too country for him. I mean,
it is.
But that's what it is.
Right. You're just not supposed to say that about schools that are recruiting you. But
I said, I go, if you're a young dude from an urban center in America, what does Happy Valley have to give you? How many people there look like you, grew up like you?
They got great ice cream.
That's fine. Bill testifies to that. He says
maybe they want this. They wanted to smell a cow for the first time in their life.
You can do that in Ohio, buddy. Columbus, but my parents got cows. They're 35 minutes from here. We're good, but you actually have a nice. Yeah,
you have everything. You got cows. You've got cars.
Well, and that's the thing, though. You have guys,
cars, great food.
Dudes from Texas. You want to hunt? Boom! You get in your car. Schlegels lives 45 minutes from here. 180 acres. Shoot whatever you want. Can hunt a human probably. It's all game.
Probably.
It's
important.
I don't know that it's happened, but probably.
It's important to leave that disclaimer.
I've been trying to pitch this for years. If we get people that are guilty of sex crimes, terrible things, acts against humanity, forget incarcerating them. Let's have a straight up voting style,
the most dangerous game,
and people can pay for the hunts. That'll help sustain our government. I mean, you can you can build some content around it.
You could sell
be fantastic.
You could sell that in a heartbeat.
Well,
watch that. Set up on Friday night to watch that.
Well,
like we used to back in the day to catch a predator. That was
the views on this panel.
I mean, the worst thing is like we used to throw. I mean, I'd watch AJ feeding Jimmy goldfish and like different mice and stuff, like his little alligator.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could watch one human hunt another, that's some next level stuff. But you have those options here in the state of Ohio. Just not a human, another mammal.
You can
hey, DraftKings, get right on that. Okay?
What I'm saying is that Ohio is the place that has
options here.
Ohio has the best blend of Florida man, but also like Chicago guy. You know, like it's a sophisticated blend. It's like a 80-20.
Sophisticated Chicago.
But this is the truth. Like down at Schleg's,
everything here.
Before Schleg's got back into helping out, we went down and shot some stuff shot guns at his some firearms down at his place outside of Circleville. Tommy came. Tommy's from Cleveland. You had Cade Stover, who like had his arsenal.
Do you remember when they did that crib style video and they walked into Cade's room and he's got his
I was like, where do you keep this? He's like, in my plate. I'm like, okay. But Steele came, and then like Cody Simon comes, Mitchell Mountain. They're from Jersey and DC. And they're like asking questions about like nobody owns guns there. He's like, yeah, exactly. He's like, I'd like to get some of these. Like, well, consult your state laws first. They're different every place. But like,
I'm not going to say nobody owns guns in DC.
Nobody law-abiding. Nobody law-abiding.
Law-abiding citizens are.
Not a guy like Mitchell Mountain who's a high-quality individual. But like they experienced this. Like this was great.
He went to good counsel and he gets good counsel.
There you go.
Oh boy.
But you have all of that, and if you want to hang out in downtown Columbus and go to a high rise and need a rooftop and do all those great things, like it's all there for you. That's the best part. Yeah. There's something for everybody, Bern.
Florida man, Chicago guy.
No, Ohio people.
Texas folk.
And the people are good folks.
People are good folks.
That's the other thing. Like they're good folks and they've got a good locker room. They build a good culture.
I don't know what I expected.
So the whole point is you bring guys in at this time of year because you get all that.
Yeah.
During the football season, you get 85 dudes who are dialed in on beating
Coaches
whoever
who
you're
are
playing that
dialed
weekend.
in.
Coaches who can't talk to you. There is no doubt that this plan is better as far as the
I think
logistics.
it works for. Where would you rather go? Like Tuscaloosa, Alabama, on like a random weekend where
In
there's
June?
nothing there
Yeah.
in June? I mean, that's like Austin has an inherent advantage in this, and maybe some of the other
LA? I mean, now that
urban
USC is
areas.
selling that, I mean, LSU or
Yeah, so
Miami,
you spend
Sound.
you best come to USC. You'll spend half your visit in your car. Let's go.
you don't spend in your car is fairly nice.
It's pretty
I'm
nice
sure it
out
is,
there
but-
when you actually get to enjoy it.
It's great. I mean, I'll take this.
You focus on like the beach, like the campus itself there.
No,
It's
you know,
like
but kids
two
who are
very nice.
Kids who are UCLA is what you're
Kids
thinking.
who are
UCLA
going
is the campus you go to and say, ooh.
kids who are going out to LA for the first time want to see Hollywood. They, like the beach is cool, but they want to see the
At
things
some
they-
point, you have to send them
They
to
want
the
to see
practice
the
facility.
They want to see the things you see on TV.
The homeless people, the
first thing
encampments.
the first thing that like Trey McNutt,
it
who's a high 4-star safety from Shaker Heights,
also
did
play with his dad.
Yeah.
with his dad Richard, was his
Richard?
first thing he did this weekend on
What's
his
happening?
official visit to USC was take a hike to the Hollywood sign. Right, like
Yeah.
that's a cool thing to do.
It's great. Once
Have you
upon
ever
a
done
time in
that?
Hollywood.
That is something that Columbus does not have. The Hollywood sign.
and that's
don't.
fine.
We do not.
Maybe
have
someday
a Hollywood sign.
The Hollywood Hills.
They'll put it
Bob
up.
Seger used to sing about those.
They'll put them up in Westerville.
Westerville Heights.
It'll be
West-
beautiful.
Like Grandview Heights. That might be appropriate.
Why not?
Yeah.
If you just add Heights to the end of any community, you really elevate it in the mind of like simpletons like me.
Dublin Heights.
I don't know what I expected
does. It
with
just
the
rolls off your
open-ended
tongue,
show.
yeah.
It never feels forced either. That's the thing. Columbus Heights sounds great.
I'm not sure that that's true.
Centerville Heights.
It's starting to grow on me.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
I'm just
well-
going to start doing it, I think.
I think that means the show has gone on too long if Berm is wearing you down on something like just adding Heights to the name of a town. But it has been a fun, casual conversation. Hope you enjoyed it. Appreciate Nicole Cox and Roosters for having us in. Bill Landis, Justin Zwick, Bobby Carpenter, Jeremy Birmingham. I am Austin Ward. Thanks again for joining us. This is Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint. We'll see you back here next Monday.